Well, now on number 5, so that was number 1 on the assignment. Number 5 on the assignment, we're going to do the exact same thing, so nothing is different. The only difference is, instead of drawing a picture, I'm simply giving you your ordered pairs. So we're going to do all the same details that we did before. So we're going to first start off finding distance. So when we find distance formula, this was, I should have written this, was from A to B. So we'll start distance formula from A to B. So I'm going to go x minus x. So -2 minus 4 squared plus y minus y, 1 minus 3 squared. Well, I'm going to work out that answer. Two negatives, is it -2 minus 4 is a -6. So I have a -6 squared plus 1 minus 3 is a -2 squared. So I do that math. That gives me 36 plus 4. So my answer is the square root of 40. I'm just going to leave it as square root of 40. I like it. If you want to change it to a decimal and make it 6.32, you can. If that makes you happier, I'm okay with that. But I'm happy with square root of 40. My next one is from, I did A to B. So now I'm going to do B to C. So segment B to C. And I'm going to do distance formula again, x to x, x minus x. So 4 minus 5 squared plus y minus y. 3 minus 0 squared. So I do the math. That gives me -1 squared plus 3 squared, which gives me 1 plus 9, or the square root of 10. Again, I'm happy with the square root of 10. If you really want to change it to 3.16, you're welcome to, but square root of 10 makes me happy. I finish up and I keep going and find the rest of mine. So now after A to B and then B to C, I'm now going to do C to D. And C to D, I'm going to go x minus x, so 5 minus a -1, and y minus y, 0 minus a -2. This part I'm going to kind of shorten because we've done this before. 2 negatives make a positive. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 squared is 36. 2 negatives make a positive. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And when I add that together, I get the square root of 40. Okay, my last side I have to do is from A to D. So when I figure out from A to D, I'm going to do square root x minus x. So -2 minus a -1 squared plus y minus y, 1 minus a -2 squared again. So I work it out. 2 negatives make a positive. -2 plus 1 is -1. -1 squared is a positive 1. Plus, 2 negatives make a positive. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9, which gives me the square root of 10. Okay, so from there, I'm now going to find my slopes. Okay, now on my distance formula, if you notice, I have a square root of 40, square root of 40, so those two sides are the same length. Square root of 10, square root of 10, those two sides are also the same length. Okay, now next one, to find my slope, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find the slope from A to B. So it's y minus y over x minus x. So y minus y from A to B. 1 minus 3. If I start with the 1, I have to start with the -2 minus 4. So I get -2 over a -6, which will reduce to 1/3. Okay, my next slope I'm going to get is from B to C. So from B to C, I'm going to go 3 minus 0 over 4 minus 5, which is 3 over a -1, which is just a -3. Next slope I have to do is from C to D. So from C to D, it's y minus y over x minus x, so 0 minus a -2 over 5 minus a -1. So that gives me a positive 2 over 6, which reduces to 1/3. And the last one I have to do is from A to D. Notice your slopes and your side lengths. You're using the same outside perimeter sides. Don't do the diagonal ones in the middle. So A to D, I'm going to go 1 minus a negative 2 over a negative 2 minus a negative 1. So you still get 3 over a negative 1, which is a negative 3. So now I have to determine if it's a square, a rectangle, or neither. Well, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'll write it down here at the bottom. A square needs the following. A square needs all right angles and 4 congruent sides. A rectangle needs the following. It needs all right angles and it needs 2 sets of congruent sides. If it's any other mix or anything else, then it's not a square and it's not a rectangle. So to find if you have congruent sides, you look at your distance. Well, I have a square root of 40, a square root of 40. My distance is square root of 40, square root of 40, square root of 10, square root of 10. Do I have 4 congruent sides? No. But I do have 2 sets of congruent. Congruent, the symbol for congruent is an equal with like a little squiggly above it, like a tilde, or an enye. So 2 sets of congruent sides. So I do have that. And then if you look at my slopes, I have a 1/3, a negative 3, a 1/3, and a negative 3. Well, so my slopes, are they parallel? I have 2 sets of parallel, and I have 2 sets of perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular are negative reciprocals. They're flipped upside down. One's positive, one negative. So I have all right angles. Therefore, with 2 sets of congruent sides and all right angles, I have a rectangle. So that's how you're going to do this assignment. There's only 10 problems, but that's because each problem has a whole lot of work, right? So hopefully that explains. Hopefully you understand. Please talk to your teacher if you need more help. Have a great day. So we're going to first start off